The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Greetings, my friends. It's Mark Hoverson. Hope you are doing well. Raise your hand if you can hear my voice and see number one middle class created by big corps. Lets me know that I'm coming through alive and well. Happy Saturday to you. I'm pretty pumped. This is being recorded. And I'm actually coming to you live from the parking lot in Vail, Colorado, where I'm skiing today, and I skied yesterday. In fact, this was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I was skiing the trails on one of the bowls amongst these aspen trees, and it literally was like a fantasy. It looked just like a fantasy. Vail's one of the best ski things in the world. I woke up a couple days ago and just had an impulse to come to Colorado, and then hanging out with some friends here. This is another view from one of the peaks, and we're going to the Denver Broncos game tomorrow, the AFC Championship with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, and it's fun. We're talking deep business stuff with friends, hanging out with friends. I'm doing a webinar right now. I got in a run before I started. And what the internet lifestyle has done for me is changed. It hasn't changed my life. It's made my life. There's a big difference. If you're taking notes, you can write that down. The internet lifestyle doesn't change your life. It makes your life. A change in life is like you feel a little bit more energy, or you have a little bit, less bills. But when it makes your life, you have a totally new paradigm that you live from. You have a totally new opportunity world where whatever your fancy is, you can go chase it. You can go do it. And so today we're going to talk about how, the middle class operation, just the model that it was set up in, it was really designed by big corporations, and it's fading. The middle class is a dinosaur concept, and it's not going to survive because it's not necessary. It's going to survive. It's just going to morph into something different. But what's going to happen is the space of and whether you want to call them the rich or the free, I like the free, rich versus free. I know people who make $4 million a year and they're not free. They're bound by oversized house payments. They're bound by a business model they can't stand, that they feel trapped in. So they're not really free. Raise your hand if that makes sense. So you're really not. I mean, a lot of us as internet guys and girls, I feel like a lot of us are literally going for qualitative life enhancement, more like well-being and passion pursuing, and we want our lives back. We don't just want to make a bunch of money, because they say that the chase for money is a fool's errand, and a lot of times it is. However, wealth is what funds time freedom. So raise your hand if you're ready, and we're going to kick it off, and then the slopes are they're waiting for me. My friends are blowing me up on the phone saying, hey, let me know the second you're done, because we're hitting the back bowl. So I'm really pumped to share what I'm about to share, because this information changed my life in so many ways. A couple little reads real quick if you're taking notes. One is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's standard, but what I've learned is it's become stereotypical to say Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the book. And a lot of people own the book, and a lot of people haven't read the book. They don't understand the principles behind, it was Kiyosaki, and what happened was the author said he basically had two dads. And he said one dad was a professor, one dad was a very conservative professor in like a government kind of college job, and then his buddy's dad was an entrepreneur, and his best friend's buddy, so he spent time, it was like he had two dads. He had this dad telling him, go to school, get a job, play it safe, you can retire someday, and this dad saying, do whatever stretches you, do whatever can create assets for you. And this dad ended up becoming a billionaire, and this dad is doing the same old typical thing, worrying about what the price of gas is. So it's a really great story for the backbone of the book. But Rich Dad, Poor Dad teaches this in a lot deeper concepts than we're going to go today, because we're going to go pretty fast. And another book, you know, I'm just going to leave it at that book for now. But there's a myriad of books that you really deserve to read to understand what's happening. So, a couple things about the middle class being created by big corps, and we got here today because we were going to talk about how the middle class is fading, and how the rich and the new rich are kind of taking over. And here's the short story, if I can draw it out the best I can. It's like the middle class basically were servants of big corporations. So my mom worked for a hospital. It was a giant corporation. My dad worked for Pillsbury. It was a giant corporation. They came in, they served the giant hospital, and they served the giant factory, and then that's how they made money. Now, the gist of that is that's just the way it was. It would have been very difficult for my father or my mother to come up with $200,000 to buy a building, create, or buy a franchise, or create some kind of business, because the expense was too much, because the ways of technology, for instance, hospitals, schools, governments, even copy machines weren't even really available in the 80s. Copy machines were almost under the sole leadership of big giant corporations. A copy machine and a computer was a big deal, and it was only affordable to the corporations. Raise your hand if you catch just that's kind of where it was. You had to have a lot of people working for you because computers were so expensive, copy machines were so expensive. The whole thing, it wasn't start from scratch, bootstrap friendly. Okay, so entrepreneurialism, which is that's where you 9 out of 10 own their own businesses if you're wealthy. A small percentage get it from inheritance, a small percentage get it from fame, a small percentage get it through lottery, a small percentage get it through being athletic superstars. 9 out of 10 are business owners. Okay, so that's just a simple, if you want to divide this in the most simplistic way possible between the rich, the middle class, and the poor, is the rich own their own businesses, the middle class work for big corporations or people who own their own businesses, and the poor, well, then it's kind of an education breakdown. Usually the middle class, the difference between the middle class and the poor is usually an educational one. So, but the difference between the middle class and the rich is not an educational one. It's a network one. Okay, raise your hand if you can make any sense out of what I'm saying. Because when you understand when you understand the bedrock of wealth, you can build a tower up on top of it. And so many of us don't understand what's going on. We think we're unlucky. We think we had bad parents. We think we just screwed up. We think we're stupid. We think all these things, and we really just don't have the model down, and we don't understand the foundation on which to build an empire of freedom for our families and for ourselves and for our friends. And damn it, I'm motivated right now. I did just so I just went off, like I said, I just got off the hill. For those of you who are just joining us, I'm in Vail right now, as I was saying, and it wasn't even my dream to go to Vail as a kid, because I didn't think it was even humanly possible. I had never met anyone who went to Vail. So this little picture, as I was saying, skiing in these hills was so crazy. It was so satisfying. Skiing on this mountain, I just, it's mind-bending. But to me, why it was I actually got clear that it wasn't my fault that I was middle class and that I was poor. I didn't know any better. I just didn't know any better. I didn't have a model to go off. Okay, raise your hand if you've gotten some value so far. Just some enlightenment. Maybe it's not even a strategy yet, because what good is a strategy if you don't know the big picture, right? So what we're doing today a little bit is I'm laying down a little bit of a map, right? So let's say this is a treasure map. And the money, and more importantly than that, the freedom and the lifestyle is over here. And a lot of people are over here, and they're here, and they're here, and they're here. I want to do an elevated view to say, here's how you actually get to this place. And here's why it was forbidden from the middle class for so long. Part of it was the sheer expense of creating a corporation, was gigantic. Today, almost any of you can go to you can go to a bank, sign a few papers, go to your CPA, and for a couple $100 have a corporation in your name. You can be a corporation. You can thank Ronald Reagan for that. And there was just a lot of stuff that went on infrastructurally in the 80s that now are benefiting the entrepreneurs of today. But anyway, enough of the history lesson. Number 2, and this is why the rich can get richer and the middle class can actually transition into the realm of freedom and wealth and leave the middle class behind. And a lot of it is just simply the reason the middle class struggle and will not always struggle. Struggle is relative. Who are we kidding? Okay, let's just be really candid. Struggle is a relative term. There's kids starving in India. I've been over there. I've seen them. I've fed them. I've brought them rice. Okay, I've been to places where, struggle is a relative term. Now, the question though isn't you versus starving children in Kenya. It's you versus your potential. Okay, raise your hand if you get what I'm saying. Don't make your freaking competition the starving children in India and say, well, you know what, I got it pretty good, and talk yourself out of going for your dreams. Talk yourself out of everything in your heart. Talk yourself out of your God-given potential. Talk yourself out of the whole thing, the capacity of your mind, the capacity of your network, the dreams that are inbuilt in your DNA to go explore, to do. I just booked 2 weeks in Hawaii on a camp that is literally 30 feet from the ocean. I booked 12 days of this right on Kauai, where I can get up to 100 people there. I don't even know what I'm going to do with it. I don't even care. My point is, when I was a kid, I grew up super middle class. All my friends were middle class. But one of my friend's parents went to Kauai, and it was like, they went to outer space to kids from North Dakota. That just didn't happen. And I remember everyone saying the term, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I remember as a kid, deep in my kid self, going, I don't think it has to be a once in a lifetime. It doesn't make sense. There's got to be people that go to Hawaii all the time. I think we're just not, I think we don't know something. So anyway, I go to Kauai often, and we just booked this thing right on the beach for 12 days, and it's 2 miles from, giant sea turtles are on the beach themselves. You can have fires on the beach. It's 2 miles from the Kalalau Trail, which is the hike on the Nepali coast, where they filmed King Kong and all this stuff. But the gist of it is, I ditched the middle class model. I literally quit believing in it. For me personally, it was outdated. For me personally, now this doesn't mean for everybody. In fact, there's some people right now who are in the poor strategy, where literally, if they just sucked it up, they went to work at, just an honest place. They worked hard, and they went from poor to middle class. That's a hand clap. That's a great job. Good job. You're going to put your kids into a decent college. You're going to change the legacy of your family. Good for you. That's a win. Here's the thing. Quit. That's not me. Okay, that's not who I'm comparing myself to. One of the best things you can ever do is quit comparing yourself to anything or anyone except what you believe is your highest, best potential. If you went for it all, you applied all your faith, you applied all your potential, you applied all your energy, you applied all your mind. That's the only thing worthy of being compared to. Raise your hand if you get what I'm saying. Because I'm telling you, there's no satisfaction in comparing yourself to somebody else and beating them. Because what good was that? And there's no sense in comparing yourself to someone else and saying, I have it better than them. What good does that do? It only increases ego. It only increases pride. It doesn't do anything good. But here's the gist of it. The new lifestyle, the internet lifestyle in particular, you can morph into easier than ever because, number one, the big corps that we were talking about a minute ago, you can become corp right away. You can become a corporation easy. You can actually start generating income inexpensively and have your own business and have your own corporation and create your own products, and distribution is so much easier. When I was in my early 20s, I thought, you know what, I had enough ego to believe that people wanted to hear what I had to say. I don't, a lot of that's just, I had enough ego to believe that. So I looked into manufacturing tapes and starting an information business when I was in my 20s, my early 20s. And it was something like I had to buy like 1,000 cassette tapes, and just the bulk that I had to do to get them duplicated in a professional format and then shipped and mailed. I was like, it's going to take me about $10,000 to $15,000 cash to start my information business. So when I got into my later 20s, in my 25s, my 26s, and 27s, and all of a sudden YouTube showed up, and all of a sudden podcasts showed up, I realized that I could have my information generated in video form, which is more powerful than cassette form, which is more ubiquitous and more everywhere because the personal computer was going everywhere. And I could actually start my information business and thrive it faster than ever, cheaper, not just cheaper, but free. Free. And when I did this, because I started studying this crap in my 20s, I realized that I was sitting on a fortune of an idea, that I was in a transition out of middle class that had never been possible in all of humanity because of the microchip. Raise your hand if you're getting some value. We got the numbers are heating up on here, and I'm liking this. I'm liking this interaction. I appreciate it. Like I said, we're gonna keep this moving fast. But the big thing you've got to understand is that number two, the middle class. I'm gonna have a drink of coffee. Hang on. The middle class, their business model, they have agreed to a time and service exchange for income. Okay, this is the number one thing between, a lot of times, like I said, our title for this was like rich versus middle class a little bit or whatever, but really, if you want to sum it up, the rich don't have a time service exchange model. They have a limitless profit model. They have a recurring income model. They have no ceiling on their income, which all that means is they can buy the freedom to develop new products, and they can multiply their wealth over and over and over, because they took the skills and they took the courage to leave a simple, I'm going to change my time. I come in and I give you 1 hour, you give me $15. That model is a middle class model. Or I give you 1 year with 2 weeks vacation, so let's say it's 49 weeks, and you give me $70,000. It's not an actual results-based, ceilingless profit model. It is a time service exchange. And that is really commodifying yourself to a price. In your own value, if you subscribe to these models at any level, you are commodifying yourself to that number. And the problem with a lot of people to escape this model is they've commodified themselves to think they're worth $30,000 a year. Or if you're young, you think you're worth $20,000 a year. You don't realize that once you get out of that model and you go into a profit model, everything changes. The model is the problem. Raise your hand if you're hearing me a little bit on this. It's all about the model. It's all about the mindset. Oof. I'm going a little crazy here, Vince. I know you're in the background, but jeez.
Bring it.
This stuff's killing me. And it's ignorance. I mean, here's the deal. It's not ignorance. Let me tell you what it is. It's a lack of hunger. If you're on this webinar, you've got some hunger or you wouldn't be here. Okay, so this is a huge deal. This is like hunger and desire. White hot burning. Getting happy about your dissatisfaction, that you know what, you do wake up in the middle of the night with an ache in your heart and a pit in your stomach about how to pay the stupid bills. Is that really the design you think this was set up for? Is that really the game you think you were meant to play? But it's the middle class model. The only way to happiness in the middle class model, and I've thought about it because I made a choice to leave it. You're not burdened to this. This isn't a caste system. You're not some predestined to be middle class or poor. That is, get real. It is a choice. It is a choice to leave one model to pursue another model. And I literally made a choice to leave the time service exchange for my income. So I'm going to figure out how to create products, how to leverage products, how to leverage service, how to leverage technology, how to leverage human capital, which is human energies, how to harvest human energies, multiply them so that they make more money, I make more money, more service, more contribution. It all goes. All right, I'm freaking out a little bit. But the gist of this is the middle class have agreed to a time service exchange for an income model. And if you're in that, it affects the way you view yourself to such a degree that it's very hard for you to see yourself making $50,000 in a day or $100,000 in a day. It's very hard for you to get your mind around that because we weren't raised to think that way. One thing for income models, and this was one of the post-ski visit where I had a couple friends, both of them six-figure earners in our industry, just random businesses all around the board, but they're friends, is I talked about how for me one of the biggest breakthroughs
The
mentally that
broadcast.
I've had was that I realized that just like so some people have health disciplines, and it might be like a health discipline or a health ritual might be like I go to the gym, or if I don't, I know I get stressed out, or I take a 2 mile walk because when I do I feel better about myself, and if I don't I get stressed out. I drink water because if I don't I get headaches because I get dehydrated. I eat protein in the morning because if I don't, I overdo the sugar thing before lunch, and then I have a crash, and my afternoon's a loss, and it's all productive. And so there's these health disciplines. And what I realized for me, and it took me several years to realize this, and I just want to drop this on you right now, is I actually decided that I was going to create wealth as a health discipline because I realized I want you to go into a feeling with me real quick. I realized personally that when I had a bank full of cash, when my bank was full of cash, I felt better in my physical body. I realized that when my bank was full of cash, my generosity and the stuff that I would do for other people multiplied. I noticed I bought people more gifts. I noticed that I sponsored more things. And I literally felt better in my body to have a bunch of wealth in there. I realized that my back didn't hurt as bad. I realized I was more creative. I realized I was a more zesty friend to have. I realized I was more inspiring. So I realized that money was a gateway for me to have better health, be more creative, and all these different things. Very difficult to do if you're in a middle class model. The only way you can have more money in the bank if you're in the middle class, and this is where it gets really depressing, is you could say, okay, I'm going to downsize my house. And you know what? Here's the food. Let's just maybe eat less or spend less on food. And everything, because you're in a time exchange for model, you're in a time service, whatever salary kind of thing. The only way to make more money is to either what? Use more time, which is the most depressing thing. So you're losing the one thing that is the most precious, which is time, and you exchange more time so you get a second job. Okay, you can do that. But then you want to reward yourself for working so hard, but you realize you just work to reward yourself. I mean, what a waste of time. It really starts getting dicey. So what happens is you just basically have to cut down your expenses, spend less, mute your dreams, neuter your passions, and pretty soon the middle class game can work for you. And that's okay. The people that are drawn to the Internet Lifestyle Network, that are drawn not just to the Internet Lifestyle Network, but they're drawn to entrepreneurialism, they actually, in their fear, they fear more missing out. They're missing out on life, right? And I will tell you, I really, really enjoy the fact that I can wake up, I can go to some of the world's best skiing for a couple days, then I can go to the Bronco game, last minute, buy tickets because it just doesn't really matter, and operate a kind of a satisfying business. And meanwhile, doing all this and having really deep and satisfying conversations and friendships with all the guys that I'm doing all this stuff with. But the deal was, I said to the middle class, I'm out of here. And I don't care how long it takes for me to get out of here. I'm out of here. All right, raise your hand if you're getting some value. Raise your hand if you're getting some value. The attendance keeps stacking up. So I don't know if you guys are virally sharing this. I don't know what's happening. I don't know. But we're on to number 3. So this is really the secret, is a better way to freedom, and it's a model. You got to understand the marketplace and the world, the earth, the universe, the design. It doesn't really respond to your needs. It doesn't react to your needs. It doesn't react to your, wants necessarily. It doesn't react to your beliefs. It just doesn't. The world doesn't react to your beliefs. What happens is they react to your strategies, they react to your skills, they react to your service and your consistency of the application of these. The world starts yielding its fruit to labor. It doesn't yield its fruit to desire or want. Okay, it's not a magic world we live in. We live in a very it's fascinating and it's mysterious, but it doesn't respond to your needs or your wants. It responds to your skills and your strategies. Okay, raise your hand if you get that on just a philosophical basis. That's why I shared in an email a few days ago that about 3 years ago, I I had this a weird. I was making the most money I'd ever made, but I realized my feet really started hurting. My energy levels were plummeting, and I had a lot of fear in my business model. I just had a lot of like weird fears holding me up. And so I know this the skeptical mind might say, well, Mark, all your marketing looked like you were living the dream and all this stuff. Why didn't you share with all of us what was actually going on inside your private secret little life? My wife didn't even know about a lot of this stuff. Just the physical pains I was going through, the emotional like fears that I had about where I was taking my life. And literally my belief, and I hold to it this day, is the world doesn't respond or give a shit about my struggle, and you guys don't deserve to know about it. It doesn't matter. Now, I'll tell you what you do deserve to know about, that, hey, I struggled, and here's the strategies and the models that I took to break through and change my life entirely. I didn't bring the industry, I didn't bring the world my pain. I brought it my skills. I brought it I know how to ramp up YouTube videos. I know how to make sales conversions. I know how to do branding. I know how to write emails. I know how to make video sales letters. I know how to sell this travel product. I know how to travel cheaper. I sold and sold and sold and worked and crafted and brought the world the best of what I knew how to bring. And that is what got me out of the struggle that I was in. Raise your hand if you get what I'm saying. Because the world is waiting for you to show up. It's waiting for you to show up. All right, I got to get out of here. Here's the deal. There is a better way to freedom. We could talk about the rich. We could talk about middle class. I don't even consider myself rich personally. I don't even care that much about that. I care about freedom. I care about contribution. I care about creative. I want to have creative freedom. I want to have mastery over the things I choose to have mastery with. I like deep impact. I like long-term impact. I like legacy-minded thinking. And those things tend to lead me to money, and a lot of it, and in recurring money that doesn't depend on my time, plus gives me cash surge potential. So here's the better way. If you really, well, raise your hand if you really are game to exit the middle class. Like you've been around it, you've been in it, and it's a model, and you're still middle class if you're doing 180,000 a year and you don't have time freedom and you're a prisoner to your ass boss and you wish you could spend more time with your kids and have new different friends. You're still middle class at 200 grand. Middle class is a model to me. But anyway, here's a better way to freedom. A better way to freedom is regular, recurring, non-time dependent income. The middle class show up, they punch their clock, boom, and it equals money. Now that's okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. But here's the deal. You want to make regular occurring income. This is called continuity income. Some people call it residual income, recurring income. I don't care what it is, but it's what allows you to have time freedom. My income over the last few days has not wavered. It has, I could show you the stats. It's actually done very, very well. I mean, who gives a crap what I earn? But the gist of it is I've built models that aren't so time dependent. Now, are they completely time free? No, I am here right now on this webinar instead of on that mountain. But to be all honest as I can possibly be, I was so excited to ski this morning, come down here, visit with you guys, share some of the stuff that I know provides a new world for you and your family, and then head back and ski the rest of the day. So this, to me, it does require time, but it doesn't require that much. And I know it's leveraged. I know other people are going to leverage it for their own businesses. But the nice regular recurring income is inside. You go into ILN. I don't know if you get back to the person that got you here or whatever, follow some links or whatever it is. But we pay residual recurring incomes, whatever it is, $20 a month, $40 a month, whatever levels you're at and those kind of things. But regular recurring income is huge. On top of that, which I didn't mention, is you harvest human energy. Okay? The sun, what everybody with solar is trying to figure out the best way to harvest all the energy of the sun. They know there's a ton of it, but they don't know how to harvest it. What wealthy people do is they know how to harvest the energy of other people to benefit themselves and the other people. So what we're able to do with teams, and we have 4 levels of income. Vince can go into that if he wants to. But you can harvest human energy, create an income situation that is not time dependent. And then in our high ticket, and I'm telling you, I'm doing some homework on our GRN resorts out here, Vail, Beaver Creek, Boulder, or not Boulder, but oh my gosh, Steamboat Springs. This is some of the best real estate in the world. And really, GRN, for those of you who know about GRN, if you don't, make sure you find out. But GRN, to me, is like the stealthy way to get free or wealthy in real estate without having to buy a bunch of real estate. Because at the end of the day, like the more I'm out here and I'm seeing we have the best snowcatting out here in Colorado, the skiing is so insane. I mean, I only know Big Sky, Montana. I didn't know big skiing like this till yesterday. This is some of the best real estate in the world. And our resort prices that we have, beating Expedia by 50 to 90%, we can create memories for families and get people access to the best real estate at up to 90% off. We actually are building our wealth in real estate. And it's a stealthy thing to do. But what happens is it allows major cash surges as an affiliate inside GRN. And then as an owner, it allows the time freedom for you to basically feel like you have a piece. Like I literally, and I'm not kidding, I feel like this is my territory whenever I go anywhere. Like when I go to San Diego, I know we have a ton of condos in San Diego. I feel like San Diego is part of mine because I have access to a bunch of resorts there, and I sell and I make money from people traveling to that. When we go to Hawaii, we have 53 resorts in Hawaii. We have over 50 in Florida. I feel like, hey, this land is our land as a member and as an affiliate, and that allows the cash surge. So I could go on and on and on and on, and I probably should, but I'm not. Vince, I'm gonna wrap this thing up. We have hundreds of people on here. They're absolutely pumped. Raise your hand if you got some value from today. I wanted to really, Vince and I chatted before this, and I really just felt that it was a time to kind of press into the understanding of why the freedom path works and why the middle class path doesn't work. It can't work. It used to be one of the only passes because being wealthy was barred from the middle class because it cost too much to start a business. So you had to work for people. Then the middle class, in order to really get free, you have to double your time or you have to increase your service. But the exchange is to commodify yourself. And a commodified self is a commodified self. It's like the price of rice. You're not special. You can be replaced by someone else who can put in the time and deliver the service the same way you can. The better way is to leverage other people's products, services, merchant accounts, infrastructure like we are with ILN, harvest other people's energies and ambitions and dreams, what you do when you build a network and a team within ILN, create the recurring income that's non-time dependent so it can show up whether you're laughing, playing, praying, whatever you're doing, money can continue showing up. And then with our high ticket surge, this adds this stamp of, for me, it's like I don't know, I feel like I'm more friends with the earth now because I'm a member of GRN and because I've sold millions of dollars of it. And I want to invite you to get deep details. We're going to go a lot deeper into the GRN matrix and what it is and why it is. Vince, I'm going to wrap this party up and ditch, but what do you want to do?
All I gotta say, I think that was awesome. A lot of people didn't get the link today, so they're just joining. So I just want to let you guys know you'll get the replay, and we'll just we'll just end this up and we'll talk on January 21st. So that'll be on this Tuesday. Mark and I are gonna bring you guys some amazing stuff. So that's it, man.
Well, here's what I think we should do. What? Okay. What was the number one distinction you learned or enjoyed about the difference between the middle class model, I'm going to call it model, versus the freedom model? Now, the reason I'm saying model is because some of you are middle class right now, and this isn't personal. This isn't like a moral, personal thing. It's a model choice, and it's a commitment to a model. So that's why I'm putting your middle class model versus the freedom model. We'd love to see 1-minute videos and little recaps. Okay, I think we can get 50 people. I think we can do it. All right, we're going for it. Boom. Posted. And I'm impressed with this Wi-Fi. I'm in the middle of a bunch of mountains, and it seemed like this Wi-Fi worked, huh?
Yeah, it actually worked really good.
This worked better than it does at my house.
Yeah, that's the sad part, I think.
Let me see if I can get this thing live. Let me see really quick. And you guys are free to go. I'm going to just experiment to see if I can show my webcam real quick.
That would be very interesting.
I'm going to literally show you how crazy this deal is.
It's working.
All right. Oh my gosh. So they say that North Face is for the masses and Patagonia is for the diehards. So it's just a little side thing on branding. So I rented this Explorer, but look at this deal. Vail is right there waiting for me. But I'm in the middle. Look at all those ski runs, and then behind those are where the big mountains are. But I am covered in mountains, and it doesn't even matter. This internet just delivered like a charm. So I'm pretty pumped. But anyway, let's rock this party. I love you guys. And let me tell you one other little sidebar, just a sidebar about who cares? I'm out of here. Vince, love you. You guys, I'm out. Peace.
All right, brother.
You guys. Game au revoir.